Find a mentor, not just any mentor, somebody who is going to be proactive in your experiences, proactive in your success, proactive in your leadership. Because when you find a mentor who is vested in your personal growth and development, they are going to pull you alongside or bring you alongside their experiences so that you are actually getting the experience that you need to get you to where you want to be. What's going on, aspiring school leader? I am Dr. Donovan Smalls II, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I help aspiring school leaders land their first leadership role, navigate complex dynamics, enhance communication skills, and drive instructional excellence. In this episode, we are going to unpack 4 questions that an aspiring school leader recently asked me. We were out having lunch and, just talking about leadership and family and community and, just being uplifting to others in education and all of those things. And these 4 questions came up that I think are extremely important to unpack here, because I think that there are some other aspiring school leaders who might also have these questions. So question number 1 is, what made you go into school leadership? For me, school leadership is an extreme responsibility. Leadership in general, I believe that leadership is equivalent to servitude. I believe that you are not being an effective leader if you are not serving the needs of the people that you are leading. And so for me, leadership has always been a part of my journey. Just growing up, being an athlete, I played basketball in college, also in high school, and then I also played, when I was younger, soccer and baseball. And so when it comes to leadership, I truly believe that my past journey as an athlete has definitely shaped where I am today as a school leader. And so I early on began to study leadership and organizations and culture. And I always have been interested to see what makes successful teams successful. What are the differences between the culture that you walk into of these, organizations with high pedigree and winning percentages and all of those things, and how does that contribute to the success of the organization? And so that's always been something that I've been interested in. And when it comes to school leadership, it's not something that I necessarily saw for myself when I was a teacher. In fact, I often say that I believe that I've been called to teach and called to be an educator as opposed to me choosing it as a career path. I think that I fell in line with being an educator and a school leader as opposed to me choosing that as a first option. I think, sometimes we are on these paths toward leadership or on these paths in our career, and I think it's something that we choose, but I think that sometimes it chooses us. And I fall in the category of it choosing me. And when it comes to leadership, I noticed not immediately, but I noticed over time that the greatest impact that you can have can be done in the leadership aspect, right? It can be done in the leadership realm. If you are an effective leader, that means that you take time to understand how you as a leader are cultivating the environment, the teaching and learning environment that is going to actually increase student achievement. And so I noticed that in order to truly make the change that I wanted to make, and in order to carry on the legacy of people that I saw who were amazing mentors to me, stepping into leadership was a natural progression from teaching. It wasn't something that I sought after, but I do believe that, students deserve effective leadership, because the academic success or failure of students, I believe, can rise or it can fall to the level of leadership that is present. And so I strive to be someone who is an effective leader, who is creating positive change in schools and beyond, right? So it's not just what I do as an assistant principal, but it's also what I do to coach aspiring leaders, to give back and to be someone that is going to help others along their journey. So to make a long story short, I got into school leadership because I believe I was called to do this work, but I also see the impact that I'm able to make from a leadership perspective to be able to stop or try to mitigate, at least from my vantage point, the school to prison pipeline in order to create equity driven spaces, right? Spaces where people actually belong, spaces where teachers can thrive, right? All of those things are extremely important to me, and I believe that you can do that from a leadership perspective. Number two, what advice would you give an aspiring school leader? So among many things, right, I think the greatest piece of advice that I would give is to find a mentor. Find a mentor, not just any mentor, somebody who is going to be proactive in your experiences, proactive in your success, proactive in your leadership. Because when you find a mentor who is vested in your personal growth and development, they are going to pull you alongside or bring you alongside their experiences so that you are actually getting the experience that you need to get you to where you want to be. You want to try to find a mentor that is going to allow you to sit in meetings when they're having difficult conversations on the phone with parents. You want to try to find a mentor that is going to pour into you and not just ask you to, reach out to them when you have a question or a concern. You want to find somebody who is actively engaged in your growth and development. And once you find that person, you are constantly gleaning information. You're constantly gleaning experiences. You are trying to be the best leader that you can possibly be by tapping into the experiences of your mentor, because mentorship matters. Mentorship is what could actually get you to the next level in your career, because you're learning things that you wouldn't learn otherwise. There's but so much you can learn just from you and your personal experiences. But when you have identified somebody that has gone before you, somebody that has experiences where you lack, I think it's an extremely powerful strategy. Let me say that again. It is a strategy toward getting you to where you want to be. So number two, my advice to an aspiring school leader, if I could tell you anything, is find an effective mentor. Let me just add this last nuance, right? I want you to find a mentor also that has the lifestyle that you desire to live. Because just because somebody is successful in their particular role doesn't mean that you want to also live that lifestyle. Meaning, if they are, whatever grade level that they are leading, right? You might not want that for yourself. You might not want to spend late nights, at your school once you become a school leader all the time, right? Or on a consistent basis, should I say. And so if you find a mentor that you can learn from, but maybe they could speak to the different levels in terms of elementary, middle school, or high school and what you might experience, I think that is an extremely powerful strategy as well. So to kind of sum that up, right? If you can find a mentor that has experiences where you lack, or they can actually speak to the different levels because their time and their experience that they have in the industry, I think that is also an effective strategy towards getting you to where you want to be. Number three, what do you like most and least about being a school leader? What I like most about being a school leader is the impact that I'm able to make with different groups of people, because I'm able to make connections, strong connections with students. I'm able to see my impact in the relationships that are built with students. I'm able to work with teachers, right? A different segment to increase student achievement, to check on them, to make sure that they are doing well, to see what resources they need to be the best that they can be in terms of educators, right? Those are the another segment, right, that I'm able to impact as a school leader. And then also the individuals in the community, right? Parents. I'm able to have critical conversations with them and to be restorative in my approach toward, correcting behaviors that don't align with the values that have been cultivated in the school. So I think just being able to impact many different segments in a positive way is probably the most, or the thing that I like most about being a school leader. The thing that I, like least, for lack of a better term, as a school leader, I think it is, sometimes just the politics in education that exist, right? Sometimes educators don't get the respect and the value that they deserve. I think that that is an extremely important and critical thing that we need to continue to push, right? And so one of the things that I think is extremely important is to ensure that you are always on the same page with your teachers, or at least as much as possible, right? You won't always be on the same page, but if you can show that you are an advocate for the people that you serve, I think that's extremely important, because society, sometimes they don't always see the value in teachers, the value in school leaders. And so I think that is often the part that I like least in terms of school leadership. It's just that outside perception of teachers in terms of the value that they bring, but also financially they don't receive that value. I think that's the part that I like the least in terms of school leadership and just education in general. And then the last question that was asked was, what was the biggest challenge you faced as a new school leader and how did you overcome it? I think, depending on the context that you go into, will determine kind of the challenges that you face. And so for me, going into a school environment where I was once taught by many of the teachers who were now, under my leadership, I think that was a challenge, right? It was a challenge that I don't think we talk about enough in terms of nuance. What happens if you get a school leader who is going into an environment where they are significantly younger than the individuals that they have to lead? How do you navigate that interpersonal complexity? And so that was a challenge. I think it was more of an internal challenge than something that I experienced externally, right? Because the way that I overcame it was to start with building relationships, start with leading in terms of my humanity, right? Don't go into a new environment, regardless of who you're leading, by trying to mandate different rules and expectations without first building the relationship and the positive connections that you need to build first, right? I think that there's a time and place to communicate the expectations that you are hoping to see, but I think you have to first lead with relationships. And so that was the way that I overcame that, right? It was not by trying to lead by authority. It was by trying to lead, being intentional about leading by building connections, leading with my humanity, leading with relationships. So that was probably the biggest challenge that I faced. But I think if you, as an aspiring leader, ever experience going into an environment, just an environment in general, right? You're going to go into a new environment. I would suggest definitely lead with building positive relationships. So this episode was a little bit different. I wanted to address 4 questions that I received from an aspiring school leader that will hopefully help you as well. If this episode added value, please share it with someone else so that I can continue to help as many aspiring school leaders as possible reach their goal of landing their first leadership role. As always, I hope you have a great week of teaching, leading, and learning. Take care.
I love that you talked about mindset, because mindset is extremely important as you become a school leader. And so that leads us into our second complexity, which is navigating the learning curve, right? Whenever you are promoted to the next level in your career, you will always begin as a novice. So it doesn't matter that you are an effective classroom teacher, you have raving reviews from your students. Becoming a school leader is a different skill set. And so we need to start teaching aspiring school leaders that it takes a level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness to understand just because you got results doesn't mean you're going to get results here. You need to work at this. And so one of the things I constantly think about is the fact that the learning curve can be steep. As a teacher, I'm walking into the building with a set schedule. As a leader, I might have a set schedule if I'm planning properly, but it might immediately become obsolete as soon as I walk in the building. The learning curve that I had to navigate was I'm walking in the building with my bags on. Teachers are firing questions at me. I haven't even made it to my desk yet. How am I navigating that? With being tactful.